Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul. Hope you're having an amazing day. I want to talk to you guys about some very interesting updates concerning the specifications of AMD's upcoming next generation GPUs, of course RDNA 4 based, or the RX 8000 series. Now, the specification update here is primarily going to be revolving around the memory configuration, as I have seen some folks are disappointed regarding this news online, but perhaps when we start to delve into this, you'll realize that maybe it's not such a big deal, especially given AMD's performance targets of RDNA 4. So you can skip forward a couple of minutes if you're familiar with the general concept of RDNA 4 and what the specifications are that we've been talking about before, but for those of you who perhaps want a quick refresh or you're not so familiar with it, then I suggest that you listen to this. So basically, N44 and 48 will be the two dies in the RDNA 4 lineup, with N48 being the higher performance of the two, and with different rumours online, including from what I've been hearing as well, it's probably going to be a bit more performant than the 7900 GRE, which of course is based on a cut down N31 design, possibly more in line with a 7900 XT, give or take, depending on the drivers at launch, you know, how much more they can wrangle out of them, the resolution, the game, final clock frequencies. Obviously they may end up going a little bit higher than predicted, or perhaps it misses a little bit of the frequency targets, and also whether ray tracing is enabled or disabled. It seems RDNA 4 is pretty damn performant in ray tracing, especially if we take the PlayStation 5 Pro leaks and extrapolate them to RDNA 4's desktop iteration, which obviously there may be some differences. We're going to have to wait and see, because at the end of the day the PS5 Pro stuff is only rumours, although it does seem pretty solid, and exactly how much Sony have customized stuff as well, it's quite difficult. And remember also, the PS5 Pro has a crap ton more compute units and other stuff over the PS5 design, so the 2 to 4 times increase is not going to directly translate into like RDNA 4 being up to 4 times faster in ray tracing for, again, those very reasons. With that said, there have been a number of specifications that have leaked online, and it does seem that these specs are pretty accurate at this point from my own sources, and I mentioned these in several videos at this point. N48 is 32 workgroup processors, 64 megabytes Infinity cache, and 256-bit GDDR6, and you can essentially just cut that in half for N44, 16 workgroup processors, 32 megabytes Infinity cache, and 128-bit GDDR6. I've heard that the clock frequency is somewhere low to mid 3 gigahertz, at around 250 watts, maybe a little bit more, but ultimately, again, that information could be incorrect, and I'll believe clock frequencies when I essentially see them officially announced. And then we also have what all the Watts tweeted. This is April the 5th. I won't read out all of the specs because pretty much I've just said them all, but you can see 32 work group processors is being listed, and also a 256-bit GDDR6 interface. Now, why are people disappointed then? Well, Kepler-L2, who's a pretty well-known leaker slash Twitter user, has recently stated that the memory configuration is only 18 Gbps, and again, that seems to be across all of the RDNA 4 GPUs that they're using GDDR6. Now, if we compare this to a GPU that's not directly the same, but it does have some similarities, especially in terms of the memory configuration, RX 7800 XT. So this has the same amount of Infinity cache, 64 megabytes. The memory type is the same, GDDR6, and here we see the memory speeds are up to 19.5. So basically speaking, we are looking at the same memory configuration, albeit in this particular instance, the memory is running a little bit faster. Now, it's not massively faster, but of course it is faster, and this means the memory bandwidth of the 7800 XT, according to AMD's own website, and just simple math, is 624 Gbps. Meanwhile, if we do the maths of supposed leaked specifications of N48, we're looking at 576 gigabytes per second. But there are also other things to take into consideration, not least of which is the effective memory bandwidth. So here they are stating the effective memory bandwidth is 2708. Meanwhile, all the watts seems to be implying in their tweet that the effective memory bandwidth is 2770. So the effective memory bandwidth here is a little bit faster. However, maybe all the watts had older memory configuration information. It's quite hard to know exactly what's going on. However, long story short, I don't think the memory being a little bit slower than, for example, this is going to make a big deal. And also, yes, it would be cool if it was GDDR7 memory for RDNA 4. However, I don't think it's also going to be required. RDNA 5, from my understanding anyway, will be using GDDR7, as will RTX 50. I've heard it's all of the GPUs for RDNA, for RTX 50, but I wouldn't be surprised if that is not correct. And certain GPUs in the RTX 50 lineup, you know, the low-end ones like maybe the 5060 or something like that, is still using GDDR6. Who knows? Honestly, I can see it both ways because GDDR7 also has denser modules, so they could go with a narrower bus and basically pack more RAM on. Like they have 3 GB modules, for example, so they could have like a narrower bus, like 96-bit or something like that, which would be hilarious. I could see some rage. It's going to be very interesting to see what the specs are, and also, of course, I would presume would be allowed to overclock the memory. Anyway, obviously, it depends on how AMD decides to lock things down. I'm not particularly worried about this, though. I think that the GPUs are going to perform absolutely okay. Ultimately, I think these are going to be good parts. I've heard some pretty good things about N48 in particular. The big problem, of course, with any GPU launch is the price. Because let's hypothetically say that you release a product and let's just say for the sake of this discussion that it is only as fast as the 7900 GRE. Again, I've heard it's faster, but let's just hypothetically say that it's only the same speed. If it's priced okay, that would be pretty damn compelling. There are actually some news stories at the moment. For example, the 7800 XT video cards have this article. I'll just mention this real brief. The 7800 XT is now $470, which is actually, if memory serves, yeah, I'm just opening another tab. There's actually slightly cheaper than the MSRP. I think that was $499 US. So again, it is a little bit under MSRP. So it will be very interesting to see what the pricing strategy is for N48. I have heard that they want to be very aggressive with the pricing, but ultimately speaking, of course, I'll believe it when I see it. It's really what it comes down to, because I think we're all pretty burnt with the pricing of GPUs at the moment. I mean, I just, like, my toes curl thinking of the pricing of something like the flagship RDNA 5 GPUs when they finally get released, let alone the 5080 and 5090. So I will be, I'm going to be a little bit pessimistic at the moment. You know, I am huffing a lot of copium that it's going to be, N48 is going to be like $399 or, you know, even cheaper, but that is a lot of copium. So it's going to be very interesting to see what the prices are of this stuff. With that said, guys, I think that's just about it for this particular video. I will be returning to camera tomorrow. Everything will be normal, and yeah, I will see you soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.